My ex dumped me at my best friend's wedding 2 years ago, and now he's living next door with the woman he left me for, constantly asking me to keep quiet because their baby can't sleep. A bit of backstory: my ex-boyfriend Liam, 30 male, and I, 27 female, broke up 2 years ago almost to the day of posting this. We had been together for 4.5 years and he broke up with me at my best friend's wedding in Greece after I had paid for our travel over there, oh yeah, and I was the maid of honor. Going back slightly further, one of my guy best friends needs to be mentioned. Let's call him Andy. Andy has been like a brother to me for many years, we are extremely close, and when I met him, he was dating this girl, let's call her Ruby, for upwards of 10 years. I never really had a friendship with Ruby until the end of 2021, when we all started hanging out and brought her a bit closer into our friend group. For context, Andy would always make it out like Ruby hated me, and kept us fairly separated. Now, early 2022, Liam and Ruby started to become close. Andy and I could do nothing, nor felt like we had any validation to become jealous as he and I were thick as thieves. It didn't stop a rift forming between them and myself and Andy, however, and this quickly came to fruition when Ruby, who had a history of manic episodes, attempted to harm herself in our, mine and Liam's at the time, house and refused Andy's support. Over time, this would separate myself and Liam. He would take Ruby's side, and I would take Andy's. They were our respective friends. Over time, the amount of messages, phone calls that lasted hours, and time that Ruby spent over at our house began to bother me. I felt like I was losing Liam. Again, I should add some context. Liam and my relationship was filled with insecurity, on my part, and infidelity, on his, and I still made the mistake in forgiving him and wanting to stay. Now, fast forward to my best friend's wedding. In Greece. The week prior, we were staying with my best friend and her fiancé, and having a blast. Myself and Liam's phones then ping, almost at the same time. It's a text from Andy to me, and a text from Ruby to Liam. They had broken up after a long and extremely trying couple of months where myself and Liam had been dragged into. We did our respective friend things and gave support from afar. Then came the evening of the wedding. It somehow got back to me that Liam had told the groom that he wasn't sure if he was clocked into our relationship anymore, and I confronted him. I had to do it there and then, as my insecurities and anxiety would have absolutely made it so I wasn't able to enjoy the rest of the night, and this is what I had spent over $2,000 in plane fares to get to. Liam then proceeded to tell me that he wanted to be single to work on himself, and a switch went off in my head. This was the best thing that could have happened. I don't deserve this treatment after I'd been convinced this was my worth for the better part of 5 years. Again, important context for later, Liam had, not once in 4.5 years, told me he loved me. I didn't cry once when I told him that I respected his decision, but if it has anything to do with Ruby's newly single status, I would never forgive him. Liam assured me it had nothing to do with that. So, we finished the holiday as a couple, and agreed to attempt to cohabit in our house, which we both loved. There was also an agreement that, if the other did anything to make you uncomfortable, strong boundaries would be set. Well, 5 days after we got home from Greece, and we split the bedrooms, guess who was over and staying in his bed? If you guessed Ruby, have a cookie. Obviously, I was not happy with this and voiced my concerns. I was gaslit into thinking that they were just friends and there was nothing going on. Now, long story short, a week and a bit later, and Ruby had been at my house, even without myself or Liam there, for over 6 days. I was at the end of my rope and had it out with Liam, who proceeded to drive away from the house and threatened to unalive himself by driving off a cliff. Ruby, who I did my absolute hardest to stay civil with, then proceeded to attempt to OD, and it ended up with myself and Liam, after he'd returned, having to call both the police and ambulance to get her medical attention. I was a wreck, rightly so, as this was not the first, nor second, nor third time I've had to call emergency services over Liam, Ruby, or the girl who Liam cheated on me with threatening and attempting to off herself in my house. I really know how to pick them, eh? Liam and I talked, it settled down, and I woke up to Ruby being back in my house. Liam had gone to pick her up after she was discharged and brought her back. I was enraged, and told Liam in no uncertain terms that, if there is even the slightest chance of him getting with Ruby, to get the heck out of this house. He moved out 12 hours later. The entire situation had my mental health taking a nosedive off a cliff. I had been manipulated and gaslit into thinking the situation was fine, and I didn't feel like my house was even my house anymore.